Happy Patch Tuesday, everybody. We are here. We've made it. It's October. We're almost done with this year. Oh my God. And I will say this long list of CVEs is quite spooky. Anyway, let's cue the music. All right, that's enough of that. We're gonna dive straight in here. It's me and Matt. It's your favorite security specialist here, and we're just gonna kind of jump in, run through a couple of our favorite CVEs from this Patch Tuesday. I'm gonna kick us off. I think one of the biggest patches kind of going out today is the Unity engine vulnerability. It's something I've been kind of following since May. And it's really an interesting one. It's a code execution bug in Unity where like you can Unity's runtime engine trusts like certain startup arguments meant for like debugging and like pre-init library, data folder, things like that. And by pointing these to attacker controlled paths, like the app will load like a malicious DLL before the game fully even starts, and it's pretty wild that someone even like found this. I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name that did discover it. I think
Ryo Talk.
Yeah. So I know he found it, and I think did he initially find it on like an Android path? Or on an Android operating system.
Yeah, that's mostly what he is referencing in his article.
Yeah, but it's pretty easy to accomplish this. And so basically what happens is like before the game even say you're launching a game. Let's talk about it in terms of the gaming context. Before like the game like gets launched, like the flags are honored like very early in like the pre-init process, and so the attacker's code runs before most defenses or game logic happens. So it's a full app level compromise, so to speak. I think Unity scored at 8.4, and they shipped the fixed editor runtime on October 2nd, but it was pretty crazy initially because me just sitting down to like chill out and play a video game one night, like I went to launch it and it did not launch because it got like a lot of games got pulled because of this temporarily until they could get a fix or at least like put arguments in there to stop like the whole debugging log like loading. So it's pretty crazy. It looks like it's finally kind of coming to an end. But obviously it's really like this could have been like it was a serious issue, but it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Just being able to remote code execute, when you're just trying to play a video game.
Right. And there's a few simple conditions that have to be met, and it does require basically a malicious application can exploit it. So you have to have the Android extract native libs attribute set to true in your Android manifest.xml. I say that like I know what I'm talking about with any sort of Android stuff. And then your Unity application needs to launch with that XRSDK pre-init library argument, which I think, according to him or them, I think that's by default loaded with that. So that malicious application that gets installed on the system can launch your Unity app then, like you said, with those arguments,
which then
with its
can
own
launch
permissions.
And then it can load like the malicious DLL and everything like that, which kicks off the whole chain of events. Pretty wild. I'm really glad this is finally getting kind of patched up here and hopefully put to bed.
Think about how many games are using Unity. like tons, plenty of games. So this is going to be, I mean, it looks like this was first introduced in May, like we talked about. And I mean, what is it? Unity? What's the other big game engine? Oh, Unreal. So between those, I would assume tons of games are using Unity and are probably still updating.
I mean, it's not only that. Like, there's a lot of think bigger, think wider. Like, there's a lot of VR training and field tools that get used, in medical, in the medical field, in defense. Things like that. Yeah.
My friend that works in pharma, actually, when she started working at one of the big, I think it's the big four, one of those.
Yeah.
They handed her a Razer gaming computer because they had these virtual conference rooms, but then also they had a whole VR setup where you could actually look at molecular structure of chemicals. Yeah. And so you'd put on a VR headset and you'd be able to interact with all these molecules, these chemicals, and see what bonds there are and the overall general thing. So I would assume that's either Unity or Unreal or one of the two.
It's very likely Unity. Unity is very easy to program VR applications and AR applications around. It's crazy. And that's the thing. I know I talk more on the gaming aspect because I am a gaming nerd, and I love a good time on video games. But it goes wider than that. Think kiosks and educational things in museums, architectural programs that you use to conceptualize buildings, film and animation, all that stuff is Unity. It is wide. And it really just got discovered in a gaming aspect, so to speak. And I feel that's the one I felt the most. But it is not just exclusive to that. And pretty wild. I feel once or twice a year we get some really big boy vulnerabilities that just kind of stick out and are very long standing. They take months to address. Remember, Ingress Nightmare, I think, was this year too, right? Mm-hmm. XZlib was last year. There's always something special.
There's a new Redis big vulnerability that came out too, but that's out of scope. But I hope Subway Surfers is not impacted because I really like that game.
Oh man. What's our next one? It's I'll let you introduce it,
Yeah, so the Windows Hello security feature bypass vulnerability. This one's really interesting. Initially we thought that it was just breaking biometrics, so face and fingerprint. Just being able to break those in general, but it does require local admins. So if you were a bad actor and you compromised somebody's account, which I'm just thinking in a end user type environment. I think at home you're always going to be admin, and so if you get popped by a bad actor, what they can do is if they achieve local admin, basically they can insert in less words, they can insert their own database entry for their own face by breaking the encryption pretty easily if you have that local admin. So basically, you break the encryption, you insert an entry into this database, and then you have Face ID on that machine now. It's still unclear. What's that?
Yeah. I was going to say, we've got a classic face-off situation here. John Travolta, Nicolas Cage. He's just shoving that face into that database.
Boo this man. That was...
Boo!
It's unclear. It's unclear whether you can compromise other accounts on the machine. But if you have local admin, you should be able to do that anyway. So I think this is more in the context of breaking those biometrics. And According to the researchers, fixing this issue would take a pretty significant code rewrite, I think because of those encryption algorithms. And so what they recommend is disabling biometrics and using a PIN instead if you're running Hello for Business without enhanced sign-in security. And maybe you can speak a little more on that enhanced sign-in security.
Yeah. It's nice. It kind of segments and isolates your biometric data like from the rest of the operating system. So it typically is there to prevent like malware and from tampering with or spoofing your login credentials. But a lot of organizations just don't have it on because it does not come on by default, and it just became something that was just missed by most organizations. And I know when this first dropped without like all the context and everything, you and I were like speculating like would additional MFA on the account like protect against this? I know like the enhanced sign-in security would, but I don't know if you can like add like additional like a required like your face and like a hardware key or an MFA code. Like, would that stop this in its tracks, or does Windows Hello just kind of bypass all of that and just go, oh, face is enough, no password required, no nothing? I'm not really sure. I haven't really leveraged Windows Hello too much to speak on it.
Same, but my guess is that it does replace your password, and end users love convenience, and that's why we have these biometrics. Is your finger's your password, your face is your password, and so I like the idea of that second multi-factor, but I don't believe a lot of users are going to turn that on because that would just make it more cumbersome to log in, and you want to have that balance with those end users of great security, but not putting too many hurdles for them to be able to do their job. So I think best practice is to just disable biometrics and just rely on passwords or a PIN instead.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, get patch, enable enhanced sign-in security, and that'll pretty much cover you for this one from what it looks like.
And also make sure you have their hardware requirements, because I don't think we found much on what those hardware requirements are. I'm guessing it's something similar to the TPM chip or some kind of module that's on most machine, like on maybe newer machines or specific models of machines. So that's kind of what
it's the TPM or the VTPM. It depends on like really how the motherboard supports it, and that's probably, I think that's another reason why a lot of people don't have the enhanced sign-in security enabled. But if you're on Windows 11, you kind of have to have that TPM chip, because that's been one of the biggest hurdles of people even migrating to Windows 11 is because the requirement for TPM, and a lot of at least businesses that I've worked at and I've been the IT director at, like at the time, the machines didn't come with that, and like to have that module, you had to pay a little bit extra. It wasn't a lot, but it's enough that when you're ordering like 600, PCs, price kind of stacks up. So I think as people start moving more and more to modern, devices, that will kind of like solve itself. But again, for now, patch, turn on that enhanced sign-in security, and that'll be about all you can do. So cool. But do we have we have the Microsoft Exchange Server elevation of privilege one, which break it down here.
All right. The last vulnerability we wanted to talk about was CVE 2025-59249, which is Microsoft Exchange Server elevation of privilege vulnerability. And
I love a Microsoft Exchange Server vulnerability.
Exchange du jour. So what they What they provided us was weak authentication on Microsoft Exchange Server allows an authorized attacker to elevate privileges over a network. And so once this is exploited, or if it is, the attacker would be able to take over the mailboxes of all Exchange users, and they can send emails, re-emails, and download attachments, which, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. I'm gonna just go out and tell you my personal preference here. I again have run IT for many organizations. I absolutely despise hosting, like self-hosting a Microsoft Exchange server. It is an absolute nightmare in terms of like ensuring it's patching and uptime and all these things. Like they require so much work. I would rather pay and be in the cloud than have to deal with that nightmare. Like,
yep.
and oof, yeah.
I think, I mean, that's the trade-off, right? Well, some companies are required to host their own Exchange servers, right?
Yes.
And maintain those. I'm thinking like government entities, maybe
Healthcare.
Financials, that just cannot host in the cloud.
Yeah, unless you go to like GovRamp, Microsoft. Right. So
which introduces another cost, right? And if that cost benefit works, then great. But I think that's why a lot of people are moving towards managed services. And the first thing that came to my head, since I'm a Kubernetes shill, is EKS versus self-hosted. Right, to your point, a self-hosted Kubernetes cluster takes a lot of work. You have to maintain the components, and in the cloud on EKS, most of those management components are taken care of for you. Like all you got to do is just keep the Kubernetes version up to date. So
which is harder than it looks for a lot of places,
Yep. And so if it works, cloud might be worth the cost of hosting up there, and or having just a hosted Exchange server by Microsoft. So it's kind of whatever business needs. But
I will say this seems, like if you're gonna host an Exchange server, man, proper like network segmentation, like seriously make sure you're leaning into least privilege and all that stuff. Like Exchange servers are just spicy. They get and when they get popped, someone's either just jacking all the data or ransomwaring the whole thing and not giving a crap. But yeah, so I think that kind of wraps us up for this week. Again, patch your systems. There's a lot out there that's getting patched this week, and I don't know. I had fun going over these. Matt, any last words? Yeah.
Learned a bunch of stuff, and always fun chatting with you about all the fun new exploits that are coming out.
Oh, absolutely. So wouldn't have it any other way. Well, actually, no, I would have it safer, but that's what it is. All right, everybody. Happy Patch Tuesday. Patch your systems. Get it done. We'll see you next month.